Hi everybody, Farah Gibson here, and I just wanted to make a little video to talk about those of you who are feeling very alone in your grief journey. And I want to give you some tools to help you to feel more supported on that grief journey. When our loved one passes initially, if you posted something on social media, you can probably recall all of the people that reached out to that post with compassion and, support and saying that they're here for you and, anything you need, call them and all of those things. And then when we start to navigate those days more, those messages sent seem to be less and less. And, then we can start feeling in a place of being completely alone because we're not having those people check in on us and make sure that we're okay still or see if we have a need. And then I want to take you to the shoes of the people who have sent those messages to you in the beginning of your journey. When you gave the news of your loved one passing and how devastating that was for your heart in that moment, you're probably reclusing, not knowing what you need. You are probably just trying to navigate your days to survive. You're walking through the world in a fog in those days because you don't even know what it is that you need or how you're going to make it through this. And so it's very common not to reach back to those people who put those initial comments out or phone calls to you, to say what it is that you do need because your heart didn't even know what you needed in the first place in those moments, right? Very normal. But if you step into the shoes of the person who gave you those comments and who was present in those first moments for you, I don't want you to look at them as gone. I don't want you to look at them as, it was just a temporary offer, because the truth of it is they each left it on the table for you. Call me if you need me. Did you call? Reach out to me when you need me there. Did you reach out? And probably not, because again, we don't know what the heck we need in those beginning stages, but don't be afraid to be the one that reaches back out to those people and say, you know what? Thank you so much for that comment initially when I lost my loved one. And you know what? I could really use that talk now if you're open to it. Don't be afraid to be the first person to initiate that need and let your friends or your family know what it is that you do need or what you're ready for from them. Because I think as somebody who doesn't understand the grief journey that you're going through in that moment from your shoes, they're reaching out and going, look, I'm going to put this in their court and say that I am here. And then we as the people who reach out to the person struggling go, okay, well, I don't know if I should bring their loved one up. I don't know if it's going to upset them if I do, all of those things. Like, I don't know if they want anybody around. Sometimes we feel like we need to give space to the person who is walking through grief so that they can process their first days if they need it, if they're not reaching back. So don't be afraid to reach back out to those people or put a post on your social media that says, thank you everyone for being there for me in the beginning of this. And I would love to hear your favorite stories of my loved one. Give them permission to talk about your loved one in heaven. Sometimes, again, on that other side of the fence, we don't know if we should bring them up, if it's going to be upsetting to you. But you may find that if you put a post out that says, hey, I would love to hear your favorite stories or the funniest moments that you shared with my loved one who passed, you might find stories that you've never heard before that can bring a little love to your heart from your loved one in getting to know new things that you weren't present for in their lifetime and in their journey. The other thing I see a lot of is comparison to grief journeys. And I want to talk about that a little bit today too, because comparing your grief to others or putting your grief above others that are trying to help you can be very devastating to finding that you are encircled by people who are loving and supporting you. And what I mean by that is, I've seen a lot of people say, well, you haven't lost a child, so you don't know what I'm going through, or you haven't lost a spouse, so you couldn't possibly, whatever it is. When we're comparing our grief and putting our grief above the person that's trying to reach out and help us, we're excluding one of those beautiful people that truly was just trying to be there. No, they may not have the same passing that you do. No, they may not walk in the same shoes that you walk in. But every person that you eliminate on your grief journey because you're placing your grief above their reach is going to make you feel very, very alone. We wouldn't want to wish that type of journey on anyone in our shoes that we love. And so saying, well, until you're walking the same shoes that I'm walking in, you're not allowed to help me. accept the help, guys. Accept the love and compassion, you know, and try to be a little understanding in the sense that when somebody reaches out that isn't walking in your shoes, they may absolutely say the wrong damn thing for that your heart needed in that moment. And, you know, and that's when you're really going, okay, well, you haven't lost a child or you haven't lost a spouse. And I can't believe you just said that. You know, maybe somebody who did lose a spouse in a physical sense, and your friend comes up to you and says, you just need to move on and start dating, you know, and that may be the wrong thing, but really, truly in their heart, they're saying those things, you guys, because they love you. And is it the wrong thing for your heart in that moment? Yep. Maybe it's not what you wanted to hear at all. Maybe it is what you wanted to hear. But, you know, I always say just embrace that they're saying anything at all. I think that anybody that says anything, you know, in the sense of trying to give you options, they may not be your options. And, you know, just thank them for that offer. And, you know, you can always let them know you're not ready. Or, you know, somebody who has a child in heaven may have a friend walk up to them and say, you know, you just got to stop crying all the time and start going out more and start doing things. And maybe you're not ready for that. And that's okay. You do not have to be ready for that. And that friend does not have a child in heaven and just can't even understand that right now you're trying to figure out how to brush your teeth in the damn morning. You know, but again, that friend is in your space trying to be present and maybe saying the wrong things and maybe handling that approach a little bit incorrectly, you know, without a little compassion and understanding for what you truly need, or maybe asking you what you would like to do, or if there is a possible way that you would be willing to go out with them for lunch, or, you know, like little soft invites might be the best option. But like I said, you know, just embrace that they're saying anything at all, because even if they're saying the wrong thing, they're saying something, and they're saying that out of love, even if they're saying it in a little bit of an off way. But, you know, letting people back into your space, inviting them back into your space, putting something out there that says, look, you know, you all reached out in the beginning and I didn't know what I needed, but now I do have a need. And I would love to meet up with some of you for lunch or a phone call or whatever it is that your heart is feeling ready for. But don't feel like you have to go at it alone. Don't feel like everybody wants nothing to do with you now because you've lost this child and you're no fun to be around. It's not true. I think that it really is them waiting to see what it is that you do need, and they don't want to, you know, step on thin ice with you when they're not sure if they're just going to break your heart. If they bring up your child, or if they bring up, you know, what do you need, or if they try to, you know, even bring up the subject of that physical loss for you. So don't be afraid to step back into this world and, you know, give your friend circle and your family circle a little compassion, a little love. Try not to compare your grief as much as you can, guys. Like I said, you know, it's really devastating for pushing everybody out of your circle that does not meet the exact same level as you. And then there are also grief groups, you guys, that you can find that are, you know, lifting, and they are people who walk in your shoes and understand that physical loss. So don't be afraid to find a grief group. I love the organization Helping Parents Heal when it comes to the physical loss of a child. And the reason I love them is because they're focused on lifting. They're focused on healing. They're not focused on just the day and the way that your child passed. So I don't know of any spouse groups that I have found over the years that are very similar to that. I wish I could give you that option. I honestly, my schedule is so busy, I don't have a lot of time for research, but if anybody knows of any spouse groups that are lifting and supportive and not kind of the doom and gloom of like, oh, I lost my spouse, today sucks, and yeah, my day sucks too, and everything sucks. I'm not a big fan of the grief groups where everybody is doom and gloom. I love the ones that focus on lifting. You know, if you're going to have a tough day and you say today sucks and I'm having a rough day, I love to see the ones where you've got people going, I got you. What do you need? Do you need a phone call? You know, whatever it is, you know, and loving and supporting each other in this world is so, so very important in this world that is so hard to navigate. So do your best to support others in your shoes. Do your best to support others that are not walking in your shoes, and do your best to let people back into your space so that you don't feel so alone on your grief journey. And I hope that helps, guys. My love is with you. You're doing great. Don't give up.